Hi and welcome to morning stretching, and in between the exercises I'm going to read something about cyanosis and try to learn it. Participating in the exercises is at your own risk, and cyanosis is a medical condition. So let's start with the first exercise. We're having the legs standing wide apart and we're breathing in and out again. And breathing in and out and again in, out, again in, out, and one more round, in, out, in, and out. And now we are closing the legs and we've done the opening exercise. Now we always breathe in through the nose, deep into the chest and out through the mouth. So breathe in through the nose, into the chest and out through the mouth. Now to cyanosis. Humans have under the skin soft, fleshy tissue. So humans have skin, and underneath the skin there is soft, fleshy tissue. The next exercise. We're having the legs now standing a bit more than shoulder width wide apart, and we're breathing in and bringing our arms up. And we're breathing out and going to one side. And now we're going to breathe in and out the rib cage. So breathe in and out. And again in and out, back into the middle. And now to the other side. Breathe in and out. And breathe in and out the rib cage. So breathe in and out. And again in and out, back into the middle. So humans have skin, and underneath the skin there is soft, fleshy tissue. The normal color of tissue is reddish-pink. So under the skin there is this tissue, and this color of the tissue is reddish-pink, normally. Well, yes, normally. And the next exercise. We're having the legs again standing a bit more than shoulder width apart. We're breathing in and out, and one hand slides down the leg and the other shoulder stays down. And breathe in and out, and we're taking the other one. And breathe in and out the rib cage. So breathe in and out. And again in and out, back into the middle. And breathe again in and out, and one hand slides down the leg, now the other hand, shoulder stays down, and we're breathing in and out, and we're taking the other one. And breathing again in and out the rib cage. And out. And again in and out, back into the middle. So under the skin there is tissue, and the color of this tissue is reddish-pink. By cyanosis, the color of the tissue gets more bluish-purple. So normally the color of this tissue is reddish-pink, but when the cyanosis is present, it gets more blue, bluish-purple. So from red to blue. The next exercise, we're having the feet standing together. We're breathing in and bringing our arms up and out, and one hand goes down. Now we're going to breathe in and reach to both hands. So breathe in and reach. And out. And again in. And out, and one hand comes down. And breathe again in and reach. So breathe in. And out. And we're going to do it one more cycle. So breathe in. And out. And in and reach. And out. And again in. And out. And breathe in and reach. And out. So the reddish pink tissue underneath the skin gets blue, purple by cyanosis, from red to blue. Red blood cells are transporting oxygen. In the blood there are red blood cells, and these red blood cells are transporting oxygen, which is bound to the hemoglobin. But let's stay with the red blood cells are transporting oxygen through the body. And the next exercise, we're having the legs standing wide apart again, and we're breathing in and out, and we're diving down. And we're just hanging here and only helping by breathing deep in through the nose into the chest and out through the mouth. So breathe in and out. And again. And out. And in. And out. Now we're going to one leg. And breathe in. And out. And in. Then out, we're changing to the other leg. And breathe in. And out. And in. And out, back into the middle. We are breathing in. And out, and we're coming out with a round back, slowly, and making at the top a backward shoulder roll. So red blood cells are transporting oxygen through the arteries. By cyanosis, there is not so much oxygen laden on the red blood cells. So these red blood cells are transporting oxygen through the arteries and to all body parts. And when cyanosis is present, then there is not so much oxygen laden onto the red blood cells. Because the red blood cells are not transporting so much oxygen to the tissue, it gets more blue and purple. So normally, the red blood cells through the arteries are transporting oxygen to the tissue, but if cyanosis is present, these red blood cells are not laden with so much oxygen, and it's not so much oxygen delivered to the tissue, and the tissue gets bluish. And the next exercise, we're having the feet standing together, and we're breathing in, and out, and we're diving again down. And breathe in, and out, and again in, and out, and in, and out, and one last time in, and now out, we're coming slowly up again with a round back and making at the top a backwards shoulder roll. So red blood cells are traveling through the arteries to all body parts, and if cyanosis is present, then they don't have that much oxygen laden, these red blood cells traveling through the arteries, and the tissue doesn't get so much oxygen delivered through the red blood cells through the arteries, and it gets blue. At body parts where the tissue lies under less thick skin, it is better visible. So the tissue is at some body parts less good visible. The skin is thicker at the arm and less thick at the hand. So the tissue of the hand is better visible. So there's not so much skin on top, and the tissue is better visible. And body parts with lesser skin lying over the tissue and which are making bluish-purple tissue through cyanosis better visible are the lips, the nail beds, and the earlobes. So some example of body parts where less tissue is are the lips, the nail beds, and the earlobes. And there it is earlier visible that cyanosis is present because it's not hidden under so much skin, the tissue, and the true color of the tissue is better visible through the skin. There's a lot of skin, we can't see the tissue that good, and we don't see it good if it's red or blue, but if there's only a little skin, like at the lips, the nail beds, or the earlobes, then we see earlier that the tissue is not red anymore, but more bluish, and that is called cyanosis, and that happens because the red blood cells are not delivering so much oxygen to these regions. And the next exercise, the garden pose. The toes are pointing to the outside, and we have around an ulnar space between our heels, and we're breathing in, lifting our arms up and out, and we're going down, and they're placing the elbows against the inside of our knees, and they're pressing a little against them. And we're going to breathe in and try to come tall up with the back. So breathe in, straighten the back. And out, and we're going with the back up. And again in. And out. And again in. And out. And again in. And out. Last time into garden pose. And now we're going to breathe in, and when we breathe out again, we're coming up slowly in one straight line. So breathe in. And out. And let's look for the last info snippet to cyanosis. Blue-gray spots of slate-gray nevus or birthmarks can be mistaken for cyanosis, and cyanosis is harder to diagnose under darker skin tones. So slate-gray nevus are blue-gray spots, and they can be mistaken for cyanosis, and also birthmarks, also blue-gray spots, can be mistaken for being cyanosis. And it's harder to see under darker skin tones, that the tissue has less oxygen delivered through the red blood cells because of cyanosis. And the next exercise, the seahorse pose. We're having one standing leg, and we're placing the heel of a mobile leg over the knee of a standing leg. Do this only if you can do it without to injure your knee. We are breathing in and out, and we're going down. So cyanosis is a medical condition when the red blood cells are not transporting so much oxygen through the arteries to the tissue, and the tissue from the normal color reddish-pink goes to bluish-purple, and that is best visible at body parts where less skin is, and these are, for example, the lips, the nail beds, and the earlobes. But it can be also mistaken for birthmarks or other spots on the skin, and it is harder to see under darker skin tones. And we're coming up again. Yes, and now with the other leg, placing again the heel above the knee, and we are going down. So by cyanosis, the normally reddish, pinkish tissue under the skin doesn't get so much oxygen delivered through the red blood cells, and it gets purple, and that is the earliest visible at the finger pads, the lips, or the earlobes, but it can be mistaken for birthmarks or other grey spots at the skin, and it is harder to see under darker skin tones. And coming up again, and it was slate-grey nevus. And the last exercise, it's the opening exercise, the same as we did with the opening exercise. We are breathing in and out, and again in and out, again in, out, last time in, out, and we're breathing in, closing the legs, and that was the morning stretching. So cyanosis is when the tissue underneath the skin doesn't get that much oxygen delivered, which is bound to the red blood cells and transported through the arteries to this tissue. But by cyanosis, there's not so much oxygen laden onto the red blood cells, and the tissue gets from normally reddish to bluish. That is best visible at the earlobes, the lips, and the finger pads. But it can be also slate-grey nevus. It can be mistaken for slate-grey nevus, and or birthmarks, and it is harder to detect under darker skin tones. I thank you very much, and until next time.